Hello and welcome to the show. Today, I'd like us to tackle something different and more ambitious. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you know that we are over 780 episodes so far. And in the past, I've tackled some questions from someone who is in the corporate gifts space based in Lagos. Now, if you remember, I started off my business journey as a wedding photographer a decade and a half ago. And I've been running through my phone systematically, reaching out to old folks, people I used to be in touch with, because I'm trying to revive certain networks, just get the whole networking thing going. And I found that I'm not the only wedding and event professional who has left the business. In fact, I've come across a former event planner who is now into curated hampers and gifts also in Lagos, and a bunch of other people. Doing the same thing. So, first off, I didn't realize that there's money to be made in that space because it seems like a rather difficult business. Maybe it's because I don't have a sense for giving gifts and things like that. So for me, it looks like it's incredibly difficult. So I thought, wouldn't it be a good idea, since we've already had a couple of questions from people in that space in the past over here on the podcast, wouldn't it be a good idea to take this whole industry that's curated hampers and gifts giving to look at the business in entirety from a business sales and business development perspective, and see how, if you were in that space, you'd be able to solve your business problems. I think it would be a good case study to run through over here on the podcast, and it would also be an interesting way for me to flex my creativity, since, to be honest, it's something that I think would be a hard business. When you say things are hard or easy, it's in a relative sense. So for someone who has a flair for this sort of thing, it would be an easy business. But for me, just standing as an outsider looking in, it looks like it's a terribly hard business to do, and I don't see how I'd be able to make money off of merchandising, t-shirts and flowers, and putting together hampers and keychains and things like that. So for me, it's absolutely frightening. So that is what we're going to do, not just in today's episode, but in a couple of episodes to follow. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to predict or give you a guess about how long this narrative arc is going to last, because I want us to go into things in some fair detail. And the hope is this. I'm not assuming that most of you who listen to this show are currently in the hamper business or the gift giving business. But remember that my overall thesis is this: that no matter the business that you're involved in, whether it's hampers, or whether you're a doctor or a dentist or a carpenter, or you sell chickens or you sell catfish, sound sales and business development principles are going to be needed to get you through along, so that you have a profitable and sustainable business, and that even in the regular problems that you face in the business, sales and business development principles should at least be able to get you through some of the challenges, or at least get you chugging along until you're able to until you're able to see a light at the end of the tunnel. So that's what we're going to do today in today's episode, and in a couple of episodes that are going to follow. So once again, the scenario or the case study that we're looking at is people who are in the curated hampers and gift giving space. Now let's look at a number of business problems that we think people in this business might have. And by the time we run through the business problems that people in the gift giving business face in Lagos or Abuja or New York or wherever you are, you will see that when I keep saying that business principles are the same, they're universal, it's just the contextualization or the application that is different. This should give you a good enough idea. So what are the possible business problems that people in the curated hampers and gift space might face? So number one, I would say, is market competition, or the problem of differentiation. And that's because, like I said, I've noticed that a number of event planners that I'd worked with in the past are no longer in the space, and this is what they are doing. I've checked a few people's Instagram handles, and once you start going down that rabbit hole, it looks like there are Instagram handles galore over there on the internet with people who put together party favors, hampers, gifts. They do corporate giving. They handle merchandising and branding of coffee mugs, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It looks like it's a business that the whole world is involved in. And lo and behold, is there any business that is currently not going through that problem? Remember that when I was in the wedding photography space, it was something that some of my comrades used to complain about. They would say, the industry is going to the dogs, everything has fallen to shit, and that's because cameras are cheap. Everybody can buy a camera. Okay, well now because of interest rates, the dollar rate in Nigeria right now, cameras are currently expensive, prohibitively expensive. But back in the good old days, more than a decade ago, you could raise 200-300 grand and get yourself a good camera. So now you're probably talking closer to $1 million. That's if you're looking at entry level models, not to talk of the prosumer models or the professional models. So back then it was a complaint. Everybody can buy a camera. Everybody's uncle and auntie and brother and sister can go on YouTube and watch a couple of videos. And so because everybody can buy cameras and everybody can watch YouTube videos, everybody thinks that they are a wedding photographer. And so because of that, everybody's becoming a wedding photographer. And so the profession is becoming commoditized. And so the challenge is, how do you differentiate yourself? Now, if you're a doctor, I'm sure you would also think the same way, that everybody and their uncle and their auntie has gone to medical school. They probably lowered the JAMB acceptance rate or whatever. So the marketplace is being flooded with hundreds and thousands of doctors, and everybody's uncle and auntie and even your neighbor's monkey is a doctor. And so because of that, the market is becoming choked and commoditized. So it's something that absolutely everybody can complain about. So you can see how some of the problems that we face are universal, or some of the principles that we need to get us out of this mess are universal. So the thing is just that differentiation for someone who is in the curated hampers space is going to be different from differentiation if you are a wedding photographer, and it's going to be different if you're trying to make yourself stand out as a medical doctor or a dentist or a carpenter. But that is one problem that our brothers and sisters in the curated hampers and gift space they face. Number one, market competition, because if you open up Instagram, it looks like the whole world is in this business. Then, number two, supply chain management. And this is something that I'm happy that I don't have to deal with this much nowadays. Because as a wedding photographer, it was a problem. You get the work done, you hand it over to the fulfillment center. The fulfillment center finishes with that. Then you hand it over to the people that are going to do the actual book production or flash drive production or produce the frames and things like that. So supply chain management is an issue because you're getting materials from point A and you're running it through people in point B. It's supposed to come out in point C and then you deliver in point D. So that was a problem for me as a wedding photographer, because that's also something in itself you have to manage. And I can imagine that if you're in the curated hampers and gift space, that this is something that you have to deal with every single day. So if you want to create hampers, and your hamper is going to have peak milk and Bournvita and Rice Krispies and what else? And coffee and honey and bananas and groundnuts and garden eggs or whatever, then these things have to be sourced. They have to be, procured? Is that a word? You have to procure them from someplace. So you or someone else has to go to the market, has to buy these things. These things have to be delivered to you. Since you're in the business of creating hampers or creating curated hampers, assuming that you want to keep costs down, you want to source things leanly, so you're probably buying in bulk. If you're based in Abuja, then you're probably buying in bulk from Lagos or wherever. This is just a guess because I'm not involved in the business. But bottom line is, this is something that people in this space have to worry about every single day. Supply chain management. You wake up, the hampers are almost ready, but the peak milk and the bonvita is not there. So you have to pick up the phone and start harassing people. Where is my peak milk? These orders are supposed to have gone out. You people want to kill my business. Oh, the devil is using you people, blah, 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 and all those conversations. And yes, people do have those conversations, because once I was waiting to pick my son up from school, and this lady comes and she parks the car, and then she gets out, she whips up her phone, and then she absolutely blasts the person on the other end of the phone. I mean, she just got off in a rage. She was like, you people will not kill my business, that the devil is using people. You people want to destroy my business. You want to destroy my life. That how can you do this kind of thing? The customer placed the order by so and so. It is now 1:45. They have not showed up. You are destroying the devil is the enemy. I reject. The devil will not use you to destroy my business. Blah 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 blah. So people who have to do supply chain management actually go through a lot trying to chase down people on the other end to make sure that every single thing that they need to deliver to their customers comes on time. So I'm sure it's a problem for people who are in the created hamper space. Then there's also the problem of seasonal demand, something that I faced as a wedding photographer. Well, to be honest, I was not entirely convinced. I just think that those of us who were in the wedding photography space at the time, we didn't do a good job of marketing all year round. That is what I suspect. That's why it looked like it was seasonal. This whole thing of December weddings pick up, then you cross over into the new year, things get quiet. During Lent, before Easter, things are quiet. After Easter, things pick up. I really think we just didn't do a good job at marketing our services very well back then. But for these people, created hampers, yeah, I think seasonality could be a problem because end of year, things will definitely pick up. People buying Christmas hampers, people buying New Year hampers. Let's see what else. Idil Malud, Salah, things like that. People buying hampers. Let's see what else. Corporate, what's it called? End of year parties, things like that. So I suspect that there's going to be a bit of seasonal demand and fluctuation that they have to deal with. Then people in the hamper space, I'm sure they also have to deal with customer acquisition problems and retention problems. That's something everybody has to deal with. But if this is an industry that is acutely commoditized and people are buying on price, then I'm sure that it's a problem. Someone comes and does business with you now at 50K per hamper, and while they deliver the hamper, they come across another hamper that was put together at 42K per hamper or something. Now the price doesn't seem like much. 50K, 42, the difference is only 8,000 naira. But the thing is, for somebody who is buying these hampers because they want to use it for corporate gifting, if they're able to save 8K per head and they sent out 10 hampers in the last week, that's already 80K. So for businesses like, let's say, banks, for instance, who are probably sending out hundreds of these stuff, if they're saving 8,000 naira per head, then that's a huge chunk of money at the end of the day. So it's possible that someone might buy your hamper today and discover that somebody supplied it at 42 or maybe 45, and they're thinking, you know what, next time let me save 5K off of this and let me go with the other person. So customer acquisition and retention, I suspect, could be a problem for people in the hampers and in the gift space. Then, of course, the other challenge is marketing and branding. Everybody faces that one. Operational efficiency definitely has to be one of the headaches that these people face. Financial management, especially since they're dealing with physical goods, because it's not like they're doing consulting. If you're a consultant, all you're billing for is your time, more or less. Okay, time, NEPA, what else? Phone bill, internet bill. It's not the same as if you're sending out 100 hampers and you're short by one tin of peak milk. That is 800 tins of. Did I say 800? Okay, let's say 80. So that's 80 tins of peak milk. So those 80 tins will have to be bought, will have to be transported. So there's finances going into it. So there are problems involved. So these are the sorts of problems that I think people in the hamper and in the gift space are going to have. So let me recap. 1, the problem of market competition, or how do you differentiate yourself? Number 2, supply chain management. How do we get our goods from A to B to C to the home of the final consumer? Then, what did I say again? 3, seasonal demand fluctuation. Then customer acquisition and retention. I'm sure that's a problem for them as well, because of course it's a problem for everyone. Then marketing and branding, operational efficiency, and then what did I say? Financial management. Yes, financial management. Um, but of course, finance is not my thing, so that's not something I'm going to be able to say a lot about when we get to that point. But these are some of the problems that I think everybody faces. Now, before I move on, this is my pet advice that I like to give to folks. If you have noticed some of these problems that will be faced by our brothers and sisters in the curated hamper and gift giving space, whether in Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, or New York, these are not problems that are unique to them. The problems that they're facing, these problems have their own flair because they're in that space. But if you noticed, these are challenges that face us all. That is one reason why I tell people that there is no need to run from these challenges now. A lot of people decide to start some business. You start your dentistry practice, or you start your wedding photography thing, or you open your law practice, but then you start facing some of these problems. Competition, differentiation, what else? Customer retention, marketing, branding. And you think the problem is with the business opportunity itself. And so you start running to something else. You think that if you leave the law practice and you start up fashion design, then fashion design will be easier than law. Maybe in a certain sense, fashion design will be easier than law, because with law, there's going to be lots of research and reading and things like that. But you are still going to face these problems. If you leave the practice of the law and you say, let me do fashion design, you will still run into the problems of, how will I differentiate myself? How are we going to handle talent? Is there any seasonal demand? How am I going to cope with that? How am I going to handle marketing and branding? How am I going to make sure that my operation is efficient? The challenges are all the same. So that's the reason why my own pet advice to most folks who are trying to bail has always been, let's stay here now, stay in this legal practice now, master the fundamentals first, see how you can overcome some of these challenges, so that by the time you leave your legal practice and you move on to become a fashion designer or whatever, you would have gotten some competence, some skills in how to deal with these things. These are transferable skills. So the fact that you were able to handle branding and marketing and differentiation as a lawyer very well, or in a reasonably competent way, it's going to transfer and make it easier for you to handle when you start running your fashion practice or whatever other business it is that you run to. So if you're one of these people who is considering right now that you're a fashion designer, you're thinking that you're not being paid as a fashion designer, you're thinking perhaps you should leave fashion design and go and study law. Lawyers get paid better. It's still going to be the same problems that you're going to face. So stay where you are, master the fundamentals. Let's learn how to overcome these challenges now, so that when we move into a new space, we can take these skills with us, and then it will help us become better, well-rounded business individuals overall. So I will stop here today because there's still a lot that can be said. Let me see. Let me look at my notes. Where are we? Okay, yeah, so we've looked at the business problems. I think I'll stop here at the business problems today, and I will rest on the fact that I've been able to convince you guys, or I hope I've been able to convince you guys, that the problems that people in this hamper and gifting space face are problems that all of us face. The flavor or the accent of the problem is different, but we face these problems overall, and I hope I've been able to convince you guys that if you're facing these problems currently in your business, the solution is not to abandon this business where you are and run off to another business, because you will face those challenges there as well. The challenges will always follow you until you take a stand, master the fundamentals, learn how to deal with it, so that by the time you leave where you are now and you open your new business, you'll take these transferable skills and knowledge with you. So I think in the next episode, we should be able to look into details about the curated hampers and gift giving business. Let's try and see globally what it looks like. Let's try and look at the segments or the people that play in that space. We're going to look at my guess of what I think the target audience is going to be. And I also did some research, and I found some interesting business models that operate in that space. And then maybe we'll try and figure out what some of the trends might be for the future. Now, remember, the approach that we're going to carry on with this case study is this. This is not for people in the curated hampers and gift giving space exclusively. It's for the rest of us to look at this industry, try and figure out the problems that they face, try and come up with solutions to these problems, so that these principles and the processes, we can use that to enrich our own lives and enrich our own businesses and help us become much more efficient in whatever businesses that we do. So if you are in fisheries, or if you are in fashion, or if you are in water supply or whatever, just pay attention to the episodes that follow. You're going to find principles and practices that you can apply to your own unique situation. So thank you very much for your time and attention. Remember to connect with me on WhatsApp. Chat with me on WhatsApp. The number is 080-6466-2140. Country code is +234 in case you're hitting me up outside the shores of Nigeria. Then connect with me and chat with me on LinkedIn. My name is Tavishima Ayede. I'm the host of the show. You can confirm the spelling of my name from the link where you're currently listening to this episode. So thanks for your time and attention. I'll catch you guys at the next episode.